Glad to have you with us here on NBCSN for the Verizon Indycar Series here in Toronto, this legendary circuit. And as we turn to our car facts, track facts for today, and this beautiful park that is Exhibition Place. You see the Prince's, not Princess, the Prince's gates down there at the end of the main straight, and it's quite an historic site. Did they hang pictures of Paul Tracy from there when you won 2 times, PT, or what have you? Got to climb the Prince's Gate? What happened?
Had a crane and lifted me up there, and I stood up there with one fist up in the air.
And did you yell, "My people, my people"?
My people, my people.
Well, unfortunately, somebody no longer in the race is Stefano Coletti. He's standing by with Katie.
Lee Stefano Coletti said he had good memories of Canada after winning in Formula BMW in 2006. But Steph, after contact with Charlie Kimball, what happened?
Well, I broke a little piece of my wing, and then I got to that corner in turn 5 and braked a tiny bit too late, locked up the front, and went onto the wall.
Stefano's teammate Sebastian Bourdais running 5th. Lee.
It's a DNF for the man from Monaco. As we run through the field, a man who is definitely, again, a title contender. How well does he sit in this race? We will see. He's sitting in 6th at the moment in a new paint scheme, and that is the 3-time series champ, Scott Dixon, with a little bit of a theme this weekend with Jurassic World. Take a look. Second full course yellow coming to an end. You rejoin us at the perfect time for Joseph Newgarden to see the green flag here in Toronto. The Barber winner from Birmingham, Alabama, racing well. He's got Munoz. Oh, Pagenaud on the outside, turn 1. Tries to get willpower, can't do it, and loses the spot to Bourdais. That was swift work from Bourdais and a mistake from Pagenaud. He's sideways again and loses a spot to Dixon. He's scrambling. Here comes Filippi. That's 4 positions lost from Simon Pagenaud on the restart.
Wow, that was unbelievable.
On the outside, Bourdais and Power. Tried to get him, couldn't do it, Steve. Side by side, maybe now for Bourdais.
Power trying to fight back. Power, the rear end of Power's car stepping out, and it's no good. It's over. He's lost that spot.
Power to Bourdais.
Bourdais just absolutely flying on the restart. Got round Pagenaud, and then all of a sudden you could see Will Power really fighting with the car with the steering wheel to control the rear end. No good.
Now Montoya in that blue and white car is right up there with Simon Pagenaud. That was a restart that Pagenaud would like to do over.
Good gracious, that was incredible.
These two guys on the lighter fuel load have been able to stretch away as those other guys were fighting with each other. And this Honda still continues to work very well in cooler, damp conditions, running in second place as Hunter-Reay slides down the inside of Kanaan.
Couldn't quite get it done there for RHR. It's Newgarden, Munoz, the best Honda. Bourdais, Power, Dixon, Filippi. So two CFH Racing Chevrolets in the top 6 position. Then Pagenaud, Montoya and Sato. Here on the inside is Montoya. Sato, the two XF1 drivers go wheel to wheel. Really wheel to wheel. And Sato does not give up to Montoya.
Sato will never give up. It's not in his DNA to give up.
No attack, no chance is his motto.
Absolutely.
And he is living it. He is driving it.
And Rahal got by Montoya with that exchange with Sato and Montoya fighting. Rahal was able to slip by.
What a race here on the streets of Toronto.
It's really come alive after this restart, hasn't it?
Outside of the Monaco Formula One Grand Prix and the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, this is one of the most famed street event races for open wheelers anywhere in the world. And this is the 30th year of competition. Incredible. Here in Exhibition Place, it always turns it on.
Yeah, this is incredible racing. As we see Connor Daly coming around turn 1 all over the back of Kanaan. And look at this, he gets a run on Hunter-Reay when Hunter-Reay tried to slide by. Goes to the outside. Big time out-braking him and around the outside the long way.
And Sato proved as possible. Daly proves as possible.
Yeah.
That's about as tough as pass as you can try to pull off.
Nice work, Connor Daly. And we're not certain how many more times we'll see Connor. We understand that Ryan Briscoe may be stepping back aboard the number 5. Katie?
Remember, Connor Daly doesn't have a full-time ride in the Verizon IndyCar Series this year. When I talked to him before the race today, he says he does feel pressure to perform, but he wants to make the most out of every single time he hits the track. Lee.
And he's doing that for sure. He showed us in Detroit, and he's doing well again here. A little bit of communication from the team. Newgarden with a 1.5 second lead over Munoz. Bourdais, then Power and Dixon. Filippi, Pagenaud, Sato on the attack as well, and Rahal. So you got 3 Hondas in the top 9 positions. Munoz the best.
Yeah, Bourdais already trying to line up his position behind Munoz and trying to figure out where to make that move. There is a relatively big gap between Bourdais and Power. Power dropped back a little bit, or I should say Bourdais has pushed forward onto the transmission of Munoz. Bourdais did an absolutely incredible job.
He loves this place. He really loves this place. But you know what? The guy sitting in second for Andretti Autosport Yarn's doing a pretty nice job as well.
He is, and part of that was due to pit strategy. Ziggy Hargis, that was a great call getting in just before the caution, but now he's delivering with some speed.
Yeah, he's we've got a little bit of a gearbox problem at the moment as well. He's struggling with that, so just trying to hang on there. He's doing a great job out there, and just hope we can last through the race. Doing good though.
So just slow shifting, or is it an actual gear problem itself?
We're having a problem getting the upshift going on. We had a problem earlier in the week, and we sort of come back again. We didn't have it this morning, so we think we're okay, and we're just going to let him make the decision. He's doing the best he can, and I think we're okay, but it's not great.
Great job considering.
Usually what happens when they have shifting problems with these cars, we've seen it over and over again. Running in the rain, you'll get some water in the coupler that mates the steering wheel to the car. As we see a pass by Jakes.
Kimball on the outside, wheel to wheel, and Kimball wins that argument. Talking about 21st and 22nd position here. These are the last 2 runners in the race, with Stefano Coletti being the only retirement.
Look at the brake calling, Paul, on the back of the car here. You can see here on the left side, we've still got the black tape over the over the brake cooling duct there. This one, the tape has been removed open on the right-hand side. We're going to have to keep our eye on that as the race progresses. Clearly, those ducts were blanked off in the rain to try and control the heat, but now we're running in relatively fast conditions. Those brakes are going to get warm very fast.
Oh yeah, and there's some very, very heavy braking zones at the end of this straightaway. The Lakeshore is as hard as you're going to see at any track, and you've got 3 major brake zones, so you do not want to have those brake ducts taped up when it's dry like this.
Graham Rahal chasing Takuma Sato. Takuma is excited for this race to be over because for the first time since before Barber Motorsports Park back in April, he'll get to go home to Japan to visit his wife and children. Spends the majority of his time in Indianapolis, Indiana. As we go back up the front and remind you about this talented young American, Joseph Newgarden, who led more than half of the race, the Honda Grand Prix of Alabama, for his very first Verizon IndyCar Series win, and he did it in very strong, dominant fashion. It was a day he was wondering when it would come. He knew it would come, but not quite sure when, and he delivered, and it delivered very well. And at the moment, the man from Nashville, Tennessee, has more than a 3-second lead. Newgarden out in front. NBCSN's live coverage of Indy Toronto continues. And this is your race leader to the tune of 6 seconds. Joseph Newgarden doing a fabulous job. Let's head to the pits. Here's Kev.
Takuma Sato has been consistently running between about 6 and 8. 8 right there. He's going to sticker red Firestones, Sunoco fuel, and Sato is back out for what should be his last stop.
Racing lap 55 of 85. We've got 30 to go. Good stop from Connor Daly. He's been running some pretty impressive laps, Jan.
And you say 30 to go. That is why people who we didn't see, for instance, Graham Rahal came on to pit road. As he flashes by, he had just come on the radio saying that his car was great, his race car was great. So what the team did, as soon as the pit window opened for fuel, they took it. This is the kind of gamble you want to take. You can get home from here. So now if there is a caution, like we saw earlier, and everyone else pits, he would get cycled to the front. Now, if I was Helio Castroneves, I would also do that. I'm surprised that they didn't take the gamble since they were out of sequence from early. Now, we see Pagenaud and others are going to do the same thing. Surprised it's Pagenaud and not Castroneves, but hey, why not?
Okay, wide open here.
He has lost his momentum when he tried to make that pass on power. So when you lose track position, go ahead and take the gamble, get this done early. Again, this is something you are paying forward with an 8-second stop. Dixon doing the same thing. This is only going to help you if there's a full course caution before the guys in the lead get a chance to stop. Otherwise, you're just losing and giving up track position.
Yeah, the key of these pit stops here really is, as Jan described, you can get home from here. A full tank of fuel, so a lot of fuel in the car. That makes the car very heavy. And you saw some sticker black tires going onto the car at exit, but you can get the rest of the way.
Oh, look at this, Rahal. Rahal on the inside of Sato. Sato went wheel to wheel earlier with Will Power, and he won that battle. Now Graham goes around the outside.
Oh.
Rahal wins that one over
Takes
Sato
two.
and gets through on the inside of Pagenaud. How about that?
Graham Rahal, what a drive again. That's unbelievable couple of moves.
Yeah, keep going, guys. They're pitting. You're doing great.
The last time we saw in Bourdais, he's done his stop. He's serviced and sent. Munoz has done, and Power. All right, here we go. It is on. You can't breathe in this race, PC.
It's incredible. This race is just hot and heavy. Guys are all over the track, racing, bumping, grinding, hitting wings. And this is going to be a key outlap for these guys, because there's guys with hot tires right now coming on strong.
Got blacks around you.
It really, really is. That Graham Rahal radio earlier on, he was saying, I'm much faster than the cars around me. I'm much faster than the cars around me. That's what we heard on the radio earlier on. And the response there was to bring the car in, change tires, fill the tank up, and boy, oh boy, is it paying forward now.
Leader is in. Here's Newgarden. Kev?
Joseph Newgarden gives up his second 7-second advantage. He got that because they came in before the yellow came out for that second stop. As we see Luca Filippi come by, his teammate. It's a good stop. Sunoco Fuel, primary black Firestones. Newgarden is back out. He won't need to stop anymore.
Yeah, and it was a long stop, wasn't it?
Watch your bloodline out there.
Long stop, full tank, about 8 seconds worth of fuel delivery. Can go all the way.
Here we go. He's coming out, cycling out. Joseph Newgarden. Remember, he had 3 laps less fuel than those others around him. He rejoins right in front of Marco Andretti. Here we go, out on the Lakeshore Boulevard. Actually, no, it's Sebastian Saavedra. My apologies. Saavedra now in the 8 car for Chip Ganassi Racing, the AFS machine, side by side with Newgarden. He doesn't need to get tangled up in this.
He certainly doesn't need to get any involvement with this. He's on his own here. He's got a comfortable lead. He's got to let this all play out, not get in an accident with anybody that he doesn't need to get involved with.
So let's keep on board with this outlap. Look at the telemetry, 3rd gear. There's the revs and miles an hour at the top there, 100 miles an hour. It would have been so tempting for Newgarden's engineers to say, well, let's just put about 5 seconds worth of fuel on board. That would have got us out and put us in better track position, but you couldn't get to the end of the race by doing that.
And Steve, you mentioned that Sunoco Fuel. Anybody who stops later now won't need as much of that. Juan Pablo Montoya, it will have a slightly quicker pit stop. So those, again, if there's no full course caution and you pit later, you theoretically can have a faster stop and pick up positions on track.
Teammates are going to meet on track. Montoya locks up and narrowly avoids hitting his teammate Will Power. Now Sebastian Bourdais wants a shot at JPM. The championship leader, and healthily so, is under siege here.
And he's been held up. Dixon is in the frame. Dixon can make a move by both of these guys.
Bourdais around the outside of Montoya. That was easy. Very straightforward there for the Hydroxy Cut driver. Katie?
Luca Filippi is pitting from the lead now. His team over the radio just now said, give us more laps just like that. They went from blacks to sticker blacks and filled it up with Sunoco Fuel.
This is the race. This is the race and the performance that Luca Filippi's been waiting for, and the team. Let's see where he cycles out. He's racing his teammate, Joseph Newgarden, who comes onto the front straight right now. And Newgarden should easily have him in the Hartman oil machine and does so.
He's going to file in second, though, which would be a 1-2.
Keep it, keep it, keep it! Woohoo!
That's their 1-2. This is the best they've ever run.
CFH Racing, after a double DNF in Texas last weekend, now run first and second in this race. Provisionally so. How about that? What a turnaround that could be.
He would be over the moon. He was hoping for a top 5. We see Montoya and Dixon on the outside. He's not far enough up. Montoya holds the position. Look at Rahal. He's just closed in on these guys.
Graham Rahal arrives on the scene, who really feels he has a chance. How bizarre is this, guys? Last time we saw Joseph Newgarden lead a race was at Barber Motorsports Park when he won. Who was the guy charging through the field to second? Graham Rahal.
Yeah, it was Graham, absolutely. And Graham has got to do exactly that now. Remember that relatively long fuel stop, around 8 seconds. The only way that's going to pay off is not to lose the time, track position to the cars ahead. You've got to push forward now, because as Jan rightly says, anybody that's coming into the pits now, they only need around 5 seconds of fuel, so 3 seconds difference. Graham's got to make that up on track.
He's got a good run here. He came down the outside, had a nice line in. See if he can pull up. He's got the effect of the draft, but Dixon's getting the draft from the car in front.
Out of turn 3, up through the winding 4 into 5, climbing the hill. Kanan is technically your race leader at the moment. He's got 1 second over his old friend, that fellow 40-year-old, Elio Castro Neves, with Gonzalez is back in third. Now look, here is the gap way back. We wait for Joseph Newgarden to come through in 4th place. James Jakes, who is not on the lead lap, he goes by. There is Joseph Newgarden. So working on Gonzalez is the next ticket on his list. However, there's a pretty healthy gap between he and Kanan, some 19.7 seconds.
Yeah, he needs to make quick work of Gonzalez.
All right, don't be scared to use the overtake if we can set him up. They're doing good.
Yeah, he can't hang around behind him for too long, because if he lets Kanan and Castro Neves get too far up the road, they could effectively pit and come out in front of him.
Yeah.
Remember, pushes to pass, not publicized for the first time this weekend on a road or street course. Will Power in the Verizon Chevrolet. Here comes Kanan now. Now remember that advantage over Newgarden, some 19 seconds. Kevin standing by at the Ganassi cam to watch the NTT data machine.
Watching Joseph Newgarden, where he comes through, and Kanan, can he get out there? He's not likely going to be able to beat him. Now he's looking to somehow get back up in the top 5. He's been generally running around 10th. Sequence put him where he's at. Sunoco fuel, Kanan back out. There goes Newgarden. Where will Kanan filter back in?
Nicely done. Here comes the NTT data machine out. Back goes Luca Filippi in the Fuzzies machine. Munoz, Power, and popping back out behind Will Power is Tony Kanan. Here comes Bourdais. Whoa! Almost hits Kanan.
Wow.
Arrived on the scene really rapidly. Now onto Lakeshore Boulevard. This should be an easy execution here. Around the outside goes Bourdais. Gotcha.
Textbook pass, and almost ended in tears when he ran into the back of Kanan as he came out of the pits, and Montoya's on the attack.
What a wild and frantic race. Elio Castro Neves now leads over Gonzalez, and Elio has some 20 seconds over Joseph Newgarden. We're riding with Kanan, looking at Montoya.
Something caught on the suspension back here.
I think what it was is maybe some contact. It's maybe damaged that bumper.
Was it the Bourdais? Was
yeah,
it the Bourdais
they
hit?
certainly touched each other, and it might have broken that bumper. You see it flapping now.
Yeah.
Jan?
Lee, you just said that it was a 20-second gap for Castro Neves. If you needed a full load of fuel, you lose 28 seconds on pit road. He won't need all the fuel, so let's say 25. So he's within 5 seconds. If he can somehow get 5 more seconds, he could pit and still stay in the lead.
That damage on Kanan's car, definitely from that hit from Sebastian Bourdais. Will it hang on or will it hamper him? What a final stanza of this Indy Toronto. Don't go anywhere. Might see another young American win for the second time. as you may have seen at home, some pretty wild stuff here. Castro Neves pitted with a 23-second advantage over Joseph Newgarden and Rodolfo Gonzalez. You saw it at home, but let's relive it. So, Roger Penske, the call was go, go, go. There was a slight hiccup on the fuel probe on the right-hand side of your screen. Gonzalez, who needs to pit again. Joseph Newgarden, sweep around the outside, but watch how gingerly Castro Neves is here. And Luca Filippi says, I'm going to get you.
And it's very, very close as he slices down the inside, nearly takes that bumper off the back of the car, and he makes a nice clean pass. And now we effectively have the two main leaders are the Sarah Fisher-Hartman team.
How about this, Jan?
Awesome racing, and so interesting. I thought that Roger Penske would gamble on the front end of the pit stops, but instead everyone else went on the front end and he went on the back end. So he just did the opposite. They called it Plan B. They called Elio on the radio and said they're going on Plan B, and this has faulted him after it looked like he was cooked. He's right back into fray.
Revised order: Gonzalez, Newgarden, Filippi, Castro Neves, Munoz, Power 6th, Bourdais 7th, Canan, Montoya, Dixon 10th.
Yeah, Castro Neves just needed about a half a second to a second faster stop, and as you rightly poured out, Paul, there was just a problem getting the fuel hose connected onto the car, and if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have the problem with Filippi right now.
It's looking a lot better than it looked about 30 laps ago. He was at the back of the field, so obviously Plan B.
17 to go.
Plan B of Rogers, he certainly had something up his sleeve.
Dale Coyne Racing has pulled out fuel strategy wins before. Carlos Huertas winning in Houston last year was the most recent example. However, Gonzalez has 16 laps less fuel than Joseph Newgarden in the 18 car. Technically, he's leading, but it's a long stretch. Gonzalez there just causing hassle for Newgarden and for Luca Filippi. What a dramatic turnaround it would be in the space of a week if CFH Racing could turn around a double DNF into a 1-2 result in Toronto.
Yeah, it would definitely be a huge shot in the arm. They had massive, massive struggles in Texas, you know, handling all bad all weekend. Hey, Kevin, you got Sarah there?
Yeah, right now she effectively has 1-2 with Ed Carpenter, CFH Racing. You got the advantage when the yellow came out after you came in for that second stop. Lucky or just good?
A little bit of luck, right? We'll take it. I mean, both Joseph and Luca are doing a great job, both teams, and we just got to ride this out. We're waiting for Gonzalez to bid, so we'll just see how it goes.
Any issues with the car for Joseph right now? Has it been good throughout this race?
None at all.
So waiting to see what happens here. One more car to negotiate. Look at this, Katie.
Rodolfo Gonzalez is currently leading the Verizon IndyCar Series race, and his team owner and strategist Dale Coyne. Dale, what's the point of leaving Rodolfo out so long?
Well, we want him to lead his few laps, put him up in front and see how he does. Obviously, he's got one more stop to make, so unless we get a belly washer and a red flag, we're not going to finish very well, but it's a good experience for him.
He doesn't have a lot of experience, but he's able to mix it up a little bit with the leaders. What do you think of him?
No, I think he's done well. I think when we put him up in fourth, his lap times ran the fastest of the race, so he's raised his game to be up there, so that's good.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks.
Take Gonzalez out of the equation. Joseph Newgarden hasn't got this one just yet. Luca Filippi is all over him, and entering the scene again is Elio Castro Neves. But watch this at the end of Lakeshore Boulevard. Filippi on the outside. These are teammates wheel to wheel through turn 3. Filippi says, Joseph, I'm here not just to support you, I'm here to win the race.
That was a very wise move to back out and not go side by side. So that could have ended in tears. Castro Neves is closed back in on this group. Powers closing back in with Rodriguez. The car in the lead here, he's holding everybody up. Gonzalez, he's bringing the field back together and closing it all up. So we're going to have a barn burner in these last 20 laps.
The three guys up there, Carlos Munoz out of the race. Ziggy Harkis told us earlier that they had some issues, and this talented young Colombian is out of it. But look at this, Newgarden, Filippi, and Castro Neves. None of these guys have won here on the streets of Toronto. Could it be their maiden victory north of the border? What a day it's been. Gonzalez has pitted. That has cleared the way here in Indy Toronto for Joseph Newgarden, Luca Filippi, Elio Castroneves and Will Power to go at it. Here's Newgarden for CFH Racing, his Italian teammate in the Fuzzy's vodka machine.
1 second to Luca.
Luca Filippi, he told me last weekend at the Formula One Grand Prix in Montreal, he was there in his full-time job as a broadcaster, he said, it's important for me to perform because I've been given enough faith from CFH Racing last year with Brian Herter Autosport, and I don't really feel I've shown the IndyCar paddock and everybody back in Europe what I can do in Verizon IndyCar Series competition. He's doing it now, Steve.
He's doing an absolutely incredible job. Both of them are, both the 67 car and the 20 car, quite frankly.
Not being a full-time guy, it's going to be important for him to get a good finish, but our man Newgarden's got to just put his head down now and push to the limit and pull a gap and give himself some comfort.
On board with Newgarden.
11 to go, 11 to go.
Time for our Chevrolet driver update, and it shows you how well they're placed, and it's quite simple really, isn't it? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Best Honda in the field is Graham Rahal. He runs ninth.
And he's been able to be the best Honda all year long, having another great race, battling throughout the whole race. Coming up now, and one more time, 10 laps to go. And this is good stuff.
As we ride aboard the Honda, you can be a part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes by going to shophonda.com and sign up. No purchase is necessary, and you could have the chance to ride in the Honda two-seater and start a Verizon IndyCar Series race. Graham Rahal will keep a top 5 position in the championship point standings if he stays where he is. Joseph Newgarden would move up to 8th place, and that would be much needed. And for Juan Pablo Montoya, as Newgarden gets sideways, Montoya would still be the championship leader to the tune of 25 points if positions remain as is for the final 11 laps.
That's 1.3 to Luca, 10 to go.
Yeah, 10 to go. 1.3 seconds the gap to his teammate, but you just called it there, Lee. That was a pretty lurid slide from Newgarden. He doesn't want to do too many of those, Paul, and destroy those rear tires in these closing few laps.
You certainly don't, and you look at the straightaway now. We've had wet conditions. Now we're getting marbles on the straightaway, which is going to make it even more difficult to pass when you have to go offline. But certainly Filippi, stretching on Filippi, but he is pushing to the limit.
Yeah. Right behind them in third spot, Castroneves, we have to remember, is on red tires.
Kev, what do you got?
Well, from talking to Joseph this weekend, he felt like he had a good car and he had some confidence, but I never sensed he thought he had the chance to be this good. Now, obviously, circumstance has helped his cause here, coming in before the yellow came out with their pit stop. But then actually in that next stint, they went longer than the group that pitted 3 laps later. And once he's gotten up to the front, Newgarden has ran quick. He's been able to keep his gap, and barring something unforeseen happening, Newgarden might be on his way to his second win. Katie?
Kevin, remember, this is just one of 2 tracks that Luca Filippi has experience at that's on the Verizon IndyCar schedule this season. He said earlier today they have a good baseline that's working on the street courses and obviously very successful as CFH runs 1-2.
CFH Racing, the newly formed CFH Racing, the combination of Sarah Fisher-Hartman Racing and Ed Carpenter Racing. Now a 2-car team for the first time, could possibly get a 1-2. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Sea-Doo. Find the watercraft that's right for you at sea-doo.com. Just a quick break. We're going to take you all the way home to the checkered flag now here on NBCSN with Indy Toronto, with the 24-year-old American Joseph Newgarden leading the way. Now, as we mentioned, pushes to pass would be invisible and not being able to be seen by competitors and for us. All we know from IndyCar race control is you have any left or not. So pushes to pass remaining. Felipe has some, so too Elio, and Will Power. None for our race leader, Joseph Newgarden. Just 6.5 laps to go.
He's really driving well. He's driven a smart race, stayed out of trouble, went to the dry tires early, cycled himself to the front, and now he's in control. He's just snapping at the wheel as he comes. He doesn't have the best handling car. He's fighting it, but he's out front and got clean air, and he's got a teammate, which is also good. He knows his teammate's not going to fight him too hard, so, but you got to push.
He's got to push, and I think that gives an explanation, Paul, why this gap is around 1.3 seconds and why Newgarden is pushing so much.
1.3, 6 to go.
And there it is. It's an important gap because it will negate, hopefully for Newgarden, the advantage of that push to pass. Again, his competition behind have got them. He hasn't, but if he keeps a gap of about 1.3 seconds, really that push to pass won't come into effect.
I think if you look at it, if you're Penske, it's risk versus reward. These two guys really have nothing to lose. Castroneves Power are going to gain points on Montoya. Do I really want to stick my neck out and risk getting in an accident with these guys, or do I take what I've got?
And guys, think about the big picture. It's a David and Goliath story. You got the two-car, the newly formed two-car CFH racing team up against the four-car Team Penske monster. So this is a huge day for CFH Racing. There goes that work from Tony Kanaan's car, and Montoya was able to flick it up over his front wing. And clears that damaged bodywork.
Yeah, that bumper finally fell apart, and it landed right in Montoya's lap, that happened with Hinch last year and really caused him a problem at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis.
Here it is again.
Let's have another look at it. There you can see flapping around the right rear, just comes off. Look at that, straight onto the wing, bang!
Flips it up and flicks it out of the way. For one Pablo Montoya. Kanaan's able to continue, so too Montoya. These guys are back behind Sebastian Bourdais in 6th and 7th position. For our race leader, Joseph Newgarden. Here he is. He could join a list of Americans who have won this race. Bobby Rahal won the inaugural Toronto street race in 1986. Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, who was victorious 7 times, AJ Allmendinger, and Ryan Hunter-Reay. What a list to join for young Joseph.
Starting to see more sprinkles on the television screen and some drops, starting to get a little bit more wet. So this race is not over. If it starts to rain, it's so easy to slide down the runoff.
Plus 1.7, 4 to go, 4 to go.
And Paul, you may have seen on the back straightaway a surface, what some people call the oil flag. That is because on some parts of the track, and I can tell you on pit lane, it's definitely misting more. But around one of the more slippery corners, turn 7, a corner worker had a surface condition flag saying it is starting to get slick.
Considering the size of the cell that we had move across Toronto from the southwest, Steve, we have been incredibly fortunate this afternoon.
Well, but with these closing laps now, these guys are going to have to be incredibly careful, because as we've said before, it only takes a light mist of rain on this racing service and the grip of these tyres will go to 0. But of course nobody can afford to come into the pits and take tyres. There was that flag we were talking about earlier on, the red and yellow flag to indicate a slippery surface. These guys have got to hold on. You see Joseph Newgarden is really flying around this track. 1.6 seconds the gap to Felipe. There it is. He wants to keep it. He wants to keep that gap.
1.6, 3 to go.
There it is. There's the gap, and there's his teammate right behind. Joseph, of course, has no idea how many push-to-pass opportunities Felipe has. We don't know. The rest of the teams don't know. Joseph only knows that there is a possibility that he could take the fight to him in these closing few laps. He's got to keep pushing.
That was scary. That was take your breath stuff away as the back stepped out on Joseph Newgarden. Quick hands, he caught it. PT, you're sweating up in here.
I'm sweating, and they're pulling away from the Penske boys. These guys are pushing to the limit, and I think Felipe's got a quick car, and Joseph is just pushing to the limit. You got to be careful you don't lose it.
Listening to the voice of Paul Tracy, 2-time winner here in Toronto, the only Canadian to ever win this street race here in TO. Check it out. Rain starting to come down here. Closing laps, 2 and a bit to go for Joseph Newgarden.
Watch the in-car here. Look at this snap oversteer. Car's sliding.
Plus 1.4, 2 to go, 2 to go.
Picked up a 10th on that lap. He's barely been able to just hover it. 1 second to 1.4 now, and so he's gauging where he needs to be. And they pulled quite a gap on Castro Neves now, who's on the Reds.
Yeah, Castro Neves is thinking, hey, I want to finish this race. I want nothing out of this. I'm going to pick up 3rd spot. I'm all for that. These two guys, if they get close enough, could easily take each other out. Castro Neves is thinking, I'll stay right where I am, thanks.
Well, it has been some troubled times for CFH Racing in recent races. At the Indy 500, things didn't go real well in practice for either Joseph Newgarden or Ed Carpenter. And Ed in the race specifically in Detroit race 2, both Joseph and Luca, remember Luca Filippi does the road and street courses, both crashed out. And as I told you a week ago in Texas, both Ed Carpenter and Joseph Newgarden DNF'd. So this is a dramatic turnaround. It is an emphatic comeback if Joseph Newgarden can hang on to this Chevrolet for just 1.7 more miles.
White flag, white flag.
He's going to be a 2-time winner.
Keep it together, son. Keep it together on this last lap. It is misting. That track surface is becoming more and more treacherous. Your teammate is charging on strong. Keep it together, son.
We have had 7 different winners from 9 races. Joseph could call himself a repeat winner in half a lap's time. For Luca Filippi, it would be an IndyCar best. What a result for the Italian. Through turn 5 for the final time. No more threat from Penske. The threat is coming from the weather. And look at those hands, hard on the wheel.
Absolutely hard on the wheel. In these closing few corners, still pushing hard.
Since winning at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama, it's not being too dramatic to say it's been a nightmare for Joseph Newgarden. However, he's going to turn it all around. The team's first 1-2. Joseph Newgarden, the 24-year-old American, wins in Toronto for the very first time and becomes a 2-time winner in 2015. It's a 1-2 for CFH Racing. They overcome the power of Penske, and Castro Neves, with that different strategy, comes home on the podium over Power and Bourdais, a top 5 finish. What a race in Canada.
I'll tell you what, I need a towel to wipe the sweat off of me. It's that was probably one of the best races I've ever seen in Toronto.
And a 1-2 for CFH Racing. What a result, Katie.
Sarah Fisher is the team owner that gave Joseph Newgarden his start in the Verizon IndyCar Series, and here she is congratulating all of her team. Let's see if we can just say, Sarah, how much does it mean for you to see Joseph come this far from you giving him his start and now to 2 wins this season?
Oh man, I'm just really proud of everybody on this team. I'm proud of Joseph. I'm proud of the 20 car guys. You know, to have Luca come home in the Fuzzies car 1-2, I never would have thought that would have happened, but you know, I'm proud of everyone, and I want to thank Wink and Libba Hartman. You know, they weren't here this weekend, and I really wish they would be, but it's just amazing.
They weren't here for Joseph's first win either.
Big day, huge day for Sarah Fisher, for Ed Carpenter, for Wink Hartman. The CFH Racing organization, Newgarden is their man, leading home a 1-2. of a Texas two-step, but maybe now it's a Tennessee two-step for Joseph Newgarden, the winner here at Indy Toronto, and for the second time this season. Kevin, what a way to celebrate.
It took 3.5 years to get win number 1, now just 6 for win number 2. Joseph, how much did your group need this after the problems and issues of the last month?
Just an amazing team effort. You know, I can't believe that we did a 1-2 even. You know, it got a little close there with Luca, but we were really trying to just keep up. You know, after we got in to the final stint, I got a little bit of lap traffic, and I couldn't do anything with the lap traffic, and they really wanted me to because of everyone that was coming, and just, you know, close racing, but. We were disappointed with qualifying because we knew we had a faster car, and I'm just so happy we were able to get a win. But even a 1-2 is just amazing because Luca's such a star too, and it's amazing that he can get a second place as well. And we can give this team finally a 1-2 as their first year together. So that's just an amazing job by everyone. Super happy for the whole group.
As you mentioned, circumstance got you up to the front, but you were able to stay there. And then how challenging was it on slicks when it was still a little bit damp and it started raining a little bit a couple of times?
Oh, it was a tough day. I mean, it's tough for everyone. It really was. I mean, it was difficult with the changing conditions. It wasn't as difficult as you would think, like rain was coming down. It stayed pretty consistent. Once we started the race and the rain cleared up, or I should say the track dried up mostly, it stayed that way all the race. You just had to be really careful not to hit any slick spots that could really catch you out. Happy birthday to Johnny O. I know that's his birthday today as well. But just like I said, it wasn't quite as difficult probably as people thought from a slick conditions. I think everyone had the same thing to work with, and you just had to look out for the puddles. But it's all credit to the crew. I mean, CFH Racing, I can't say enough about them. All our owners that allow us to do this, all our sponsors. It's an amazing thing right now, and hopefully we can continue doing this. I mean, the year's not over yet.
Congratulations. 1-2 for CFH, and Joseph Newgarden has now won in multiple countries in IndyCar.
Nice job, and for Luca Filippi, his Italian teammate, that's Luca's best ever IndyCar result. Castro Neves hung in there, didn't he? And Bourdais finishing with a top 10. Another tough day for RHR Ryan Hunter-Reay. When we come back, we'll hear from Luca Filippi in this CFH 1-2.